Well, hello again and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom. As always, I'm with my gorgeous, super wonderful,
Aww.
crazily hard-working Disney dog-loving wife and co-host, Michelle.
Thank you,
She is
sweetie.
not a dog. She is adorable, but she loves Disney dogs.
I do. Thank you, honey, and hello, everybody.
So good to have you with us. We're recording this episode on Sunday, January 24th, 2021. We're moving our way through January, through the winter time. We actually had a nice winter storm blowing through here yesterday.
I know. Here it was very chilly and rainy, but I know in some parts of San Diego with higher elevations, they got snow.
Yeah, here we are, complaining about a winter storm when most of the people out there who are probably listening to us are living in some climate where it's like, yeah, that's the way it's been for the last 3 months.
I know,
Welcome
right?
to our world. So, sorry, we're not really complaining. It's just, it's an interesting
Actually, we
fact.
liked it.
When you live in Southern California, when you get rain, it's like the news stops.
I
because
know.
it's not the way it's not the norm here. Let's
Right.
just say that.
Well,
So,
and last week, the week before was like in the 80s.
Right.
It was at 80 or 81. So
it was more than that in some parts
Yeah,
of the county. It
so.
was really warm, but we digress. Anyway,
Yes.
thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventurespodcast.com. And while you're there,
we'd really love if you sign up for our newsletter.
please sign up for the newsletter. I think I'm going to have some interesting things coming out. I'm not sure if
Finally?
it's going to be... Yeah, that's true. Finally.
Just kidding.
Possibly on this one and maybe the next one, but we are going to have some new information coming out on the newsletter for those of you who subscribe to it. It's just kind of a way to be more in the Hyperion Adventures know, to kind of be a little bit more locked into what we have going on with our episodes, what's going on with the Disney Dishes blog, and just a few other things that we have happening in our world.
Right. You're like our VIPs.
That's right. You are our VIPs. You're all VIPs, but the newsletter subscribers just a little bit more. You just have a little bit more access.
That's right.
Yeah. Another way to get great access with us is to follow us along on social media. We have a lot of fun with a lot of other Disney family members, Disney content creators, Hyperion Adventures, all out on social media. And if you want to find us there, you can find us on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. Hopefully you're checking out some of these episodes on YouTube. If you want to find us there, just do a quick search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. We love hearing from you all, and we love people who share things. And this week we got a really interesting email that had some wonderful sharing from Scott, who showed some pictures that he and his wife did of one of their spare bedrooms. And oh my gosh, I want to hire these people to come decorate our house.
Yeah, it was. It's really cool. I'll talk about that in just a second here. We did on a couple of different platforms get some response from last week's episode, including on Instagram. Amanda hit us up on Instagram. You can find her at Amanda June on Instagram, and she wanted to include her list in after our last episode, which was the most iconic, our favorite iconic Disney songs / songs that shout Disney, or the longest name ever for an episode. Anyway, Amanda said, my list for songs for this week's podcast, I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan, Show Yourself and Let It Go, both of them. Hashtag Men Love Frozen, of course, and Frozen 2.
Right.
When You Wish Upon a Star, which was very popular and not surprising. How Far I'll Go from Moana. Happily Ever After from the, Fireworks Spectacular at Walt Disney World. Beauty and the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, of course. Part of Your World from The Little Mermaid. A Whole New World from Aladdin. And Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for me from, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
You did mention Scott, Minnesota did hit us up. He, of course, suggested our topic for last week. So he hit us up again. He said, what a great episode with your top 5 iconic Disney songs. I loved all the listener responses, some of which should have ended up on my list. I didn't realize that park attractions were in play as well. So in true Hyperion Adventures podcast tradition, here is my second list of iconic Disney songs. He has number 5, Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. Number 4, You Can Fly. Number 3, Zippity Doo-Dah. Number 2, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. 1B was the organ music from the Haunted Mansion, and 1A was Grim Grinning Ghost. So a couple of Haunted Mansion songs in there. And like you mentioned, he said, my wife would kill me if we didn't include the Haunted Mansion in there, as we just converted one of our spare bedrooms into a Haunted Mansion room. I've included some photos for your approval. Those photos will be on our YouTube video of this episode. So if you want to check those out, go to YouTube and find this. So yeah, cool. Thanks, Scott. Again, thanks for the topic, and thanks for the input. Thanks for all the listener input on last week's episode. We had it was really a great response.
Yes, phenomenal, and
we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, we sure do. And you brought to light some things that we didn't even think of, some songs. So thank you.
Yes, really appreciate it. Whenever you guys help us out, you do it all the time. We wouldn't do this show without you, because you are what drives us week in and week out. So we appreciate whether you just listen or if you respond or however much you take part. We just appreciate you very much. Now, before we get into this week's topic, I want to talk a little bit about a couple things from Disney Plus that we watched this week. Once again, we went through episode 3 of WandaVision, and I'm not going to give any spoilers away for it if you haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but still completely locked into the show. I don't know what you think, Michelle.
Yeah, I agree. It's riveting the way they do it with the different decade genres that they include in it. It's really fun to see some of that scenery and just the way they're telling that story. And I think you mentioned last week kind of Twilight Zone feel that, like you're starting to laugh at something and then you're realizing, wait, there might be a little something eerie about that. And so the mystery is still there, and it's really intriguing.
There are hints being dropped right and left, and I think it's ramping up. Like if you go from, we discussed this yesterday or the other day after watching the episode, if you go from episode 1 to episode 2, there were more hints dropped. Episode 3, I think, had some huge hints dropped in it as to what's going on. There's some symbols that are out there, some other things that really tie into the Marvel universe from comics of the past and such, that I think are going to be in play. Obviously within the show, I think more and more into phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Really a lot of stuff going on, and I cannot wait. I'm totally locked in. I'm totally sold. I cannot wait to see where this story goes.
Right. And you had done some research too on like some of the symbolism in there and everything. And I think that also helped, well, one, add to some of the mystery, like, oh, I wonder why that's playing in here and things like that. But I think it also makes it a little bit more understandable that, what's actually going on.
Yeah. And which we don't still know what's going on, but it helps us. It's great that we can speculate on some of these things. That's kind of what I like about the water cooler show, where it's not all dumped on you at one time. I mean, yes, of course, especially with a show like this, we want to know what's going on. We'd love to be following through and seeing what's happening out there. But I kind of like the fact that we're getting these episodes dropped on us, and then we have a week to think about it, go watch it again, speculate on it. Everybody's kind of around the same timeline. So it's not somebody is like 5 episodes in, one of your friends is 5 episodes in, you're only 3 episodes in. So, you're always trying to, be careful about spoilers. I love that about the way Disney Plus is doing some of these shows, like this and The Mandalorian.
Right. And I think the big difference with The Mandalorian actually had like different storylines that you could discuss with friends, or like, oh, wait, you're not caught up to that one yet. And this one is a little bit different, more of what do you think that meant? Or why did this happen? Or did you notice that? That kind of conversation.
Anyway, there are some key symbols out there if you're interested in what I kind of believe is going on. There are some key symbols. There's some key stuff dropped in those little commercial bites that they put in there that I think are going to be playing a part in what we're going to see as we move forward. But I don't want to delve too much. Again, I don't want to get too much into spoilers of this episode, but we'll have lots to talk about as we progress, I'm sure. For another thing that we watched just yesterday, as a matter of fact, is we watched all of the Pixar popcorn shorts. They're very short. They're only like 3 minutes long. Some of that, I think that's like the longest of them. But they're very funny, very well done.
Yeah.
We enjoyed, I think, every single one of them. Some we think we got more laughs out of than others, but I thought we thought they were all stunning.
Yeah, I mean, to contain so much in such a short time, so creative, and just love. They're all involving characters that we've seen in other Pixar movies. They touched on a lot of different characters, actually. And it was just fun. It was just fun watching. It was just like so cute. But again, I was really impressed by the level of creativity in such a small segment to get a message across or the story across.
Right. And finally, by the Pixar popcorn, it doesn't take you very long to watch them all, but they are highly enjoyable. Right. And we just had a blast watching those last night. Finally, I just want to talk about another thing that finally just came to Disney Plus that we watched again last night, which was Mary Poppins Returns, which we've seen obviously a long time ago. Right. We got to do a review of it. We got to see it early because of where my job was at the time, and this podcast tied together. We were able to see a screening of it early and do some reviews of it. But it'd been a while since we'd really been able to watch it, and now it's finally on Disney Plus, and that's really nice that it's readily available for us. And I just really enjoyed it, and because of the fact that it's so tied into us because of some things that we've been able to experience with it, and this podcast, it was just so nice to check it all out again last night.
Right. It was, you forget how much you really enjoy it until you see it again. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. I like that film. And then when we were playing it, it's like, I really like this film. It's really heartwarming. A lot of parts to it that really just, touched our hearts, on an emotional level, and, loved the music and had a great time with it.
Right. And it's not the original Mary Poppins. Nothing is going to match up to that masterpiece.
Right.
I mean, you can't really, you obviously you have to compare the two because it is another Mary Poppins film, but it's a film that was done more than 50 years later. Obviously, you can't get Julie Andrews in it. You can't get Dick Van Dyke to play a major role in it anyway. I think that obviously Emily Blunt did a fine job of playing Mary Poppins. Is she Julie Andrews? No, but she did a great job. Lin-Manuel Miranda, we love him very much. He does a great job. Is he Dick Van Dyke? No, but he does a great job in the role that he's doing. And it was just, yes, the music's fantastic. Is it like the originals? Probably not as good as that, but it is really good music, and it is a really fun story, an interesting story. And if you haven't watched it, I would imagine you probably have, or if you haven't revisited it since it got back on Disney Plus, check it out again because it is an excellent movie.
Right. I think one of the things that we were talking about last night when we watched it was the first time we saw it in the screening, at least from a personal level, I think my bar was set a little too high. I enjoyed it, but it was, it's not quite what I thought it would be. But then once you just kind of get that past that and you just say, oh, I'm just going to watch this for the film of watching this, and then really loved it, and each time I see it, I enjoy it a bit more.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot more to take into it, but watched it the first time, loved it. Watched the second time, loved it. Watched it a few more times after that, and then finally when we watched it again, I've loved it ever since. So I think it's a great film, and I highly recommend you check it out again while it's on Disney Plus. So let's get into this week's stuff. We have lots of stuff for you this week, including we have a couple of announcements of things that we love that are returning soon. One to the Disney parks, another to Disney Plus. We'll talk about both those things coming up here in a little bit. Also, if you were a Disneyland annual pass holder who is wondering what's next for your chances to return to the happiest place on earth, well, your chance may be coming soon to lend your voice to that plan. I'll tell you all about that as well. But let's get to our main topic of the week.
He's a very fine dog, sir, and he's smart, too. Huh?
You're right, Mickey. He is a fine dog. He is a smart dog.
Yes.
He is the original Disney dog. Yes. Today, we're talking all about one of the Sensational Six, a character that we love, both watching him on many of the films or shorts or whatever he's involved with, but also meeting up with and doing meet and greets in the parks or on the Disney Cruise Line or whatever. And of course, we're talking about Pluto. Such a great character. And I know Michelle agrees.
I love the personality. I mean, they've done throughout the years amazing job at getting his personality to come through, and it's just so lovable and funny, and you can't help but kind of just smile when you see him.
For sure. He just, he's got that animated edge to him, but he also he's a dog all the way through, and it's so great to check him out. So yes, it's another deep dive into a Disney character, just as we did a couple months back when we did Donald Duck. This time we're going into another classic character, into Pluto. And whenever we do these deep dives into any topic, well, we always rely on Michelle because one, she's wonderful, spectacular, beautiful, but she also does such great research, such great deep dives. So I can't wait to hear what she's dug up. Maybe he's looking for a bone, right. as Pluto would be, right. What she's dug up about the original Disney dog, Pluto. So Michelle, please take it away.
Well, thank you. You're so kind. So there was some really interesting things that I did find during the research that kind of surprised me, like, oh, I never knew that or whatever. But I do think one of the recurring themes is just the personality of Pluto and how important that was for many reasons throughout the company. So, but just to kind of like first set the stage with some history, Pluto starred in nearly 50 of his own cartoon shorts, and then you throw in that he's been on with other characters such as Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Chip and Dale, etc. So he's got quite a resume out there of films that he's been in. When he started, the dog that would eventually evolve into Pluto first made his debut as a bloodhound in 1930 in a Mickey Mouse cartoon called The Chain Gang. And, actually, there were 2 bloodhounds in that, and they were bloodhound brothers. And as Walt Disney himself described it, is back in the early 30s, we were doing a story where Mickey Mouse escaped from a chain gang. We needed a bloodhound. Pluto got the part and turned out so well, we used him twice. So, perfect. I know. So, but in the same year, he played Minnie's dog as Rover in The Picnic. And then the following year was when he became Mickey's dog, Pluto, in The Moose Hunt. So that's kind of, very early on how he started. His name, and this is, I actually saw it on multiple sites, but I took it from D23, which I felt like is at least the
official Disney fan club. They should have their right info.
Right. They didn't say exactly, but they very much felt that the name was chosen in order of the headline-grabbing, newly discovered planet of 1930.
Sorry, Pluto, we lost your planet.
I know. Well, I think that's why people still want to fight for that.
Just because of the lovable little dog.
Right. So the other thing that was interesting is Walt made pairing Pluto as a pet project with Donald Duck, and he just felt that the personalities between the two of them, between Donald Duck having these temper tantrums and kind of like big personality, and Pluto just being kind of that lovable little dog, would make a great mix together. And so he put the Duck and Dog show together in several different films.
Duck and Dog show, I love it.
So there's Donald and Pluto, pretty easy to remember that name, right? Donald's Dog Laundry, which we talked about when we did the Donald Duck episode, where it was one of Donald's business ventures is having a dog laundry. And then there's another great one called The Eyes Have It. So, kind of a great pairing. And it was, I thought it was insightful to hear that Walt was the one that really was kind of driving that and saw that as a great mix.
Interesting because, like you said, Donald can get riled up, as we all know. And Pluto, is the lovable pooch,
right.
But there's many times, especially like with Chip and Dale, just like with Donald, Pluto's gotten pretty riled up at some of these characters as well, a little frustrated, and he can show a little edge as well.
That's true.
So maybe a little Donald is rubbed off on him.
That could be. And we're going to talk about something really important later on and kind of in that topic there. But yeah, I mean, for both Pluto and Donald, they're characters where things just don't work out the way they had first planned them, and so it's kind of funny that they both have that kind of luck, I guess, or a thing about them, and yet how they come across is very different, and I do think they play off of each other really nicely.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
But Pluto also, you can see that he had elements of family throughout some of his films. So, typically he's kind of considered, a bachelor, right? But he is seen in a few films with showing his romantic side. In fact, I just before coming on today, I watched one of where he was with Mickey, and it was called, I think, Society Dog Show, and spoilers, whatever. There's a fire, and Pluto actually rescues another little love interest of his.
Spoilers from like an 80-year-old short.
I know, from a fire, it's really cute to see that. But he is attracted to several different canines throughout the years. Fifi, the Pekingese, and Dinah, the I can't say that.
Dachshund.
Yeah. I'm having a tough time talking again.
The wiener dog.
That's right.
The wiener dog.
There's also Pluto's quintuplets, which he and Fifi are seen as Mr. and Mrs. Pluto, and they become parents to 5 mischievous mini Plutos. And in my research, I saw that was actually written as part of some famous quintuplets of that time frame too.
Oh, really?
So Pluto seems to tag on to what's current history going on, at least in his early years. So, but we also saw later on in another film where Pluto is the doggy daddy of a pup in Pluto Jr. So
very creative name.
Yes, right.
Pluto Jr.
Pluto Jr. But so as you can see, Pluto did, in addition to being Mickey's dog and best friend to Minnie Mouse too, that he had some family involvement as well.
Very cool. Yeah, good stuff for sure.
So the next element is in terms of Pluto and speaking, and we're really used to hearing him, his little kind of bark, but he's like, yeah, mainly. But the animators really felt that they wanted to be more expressive in his personality. But there were a couple instances where he did speak, actually.
Really?
Yeah. So
I know what you're talking about with some little, like,
right.
But he's not Scooby-Doo or something.
Right, exactly. And, it's just very little things here. In his one of his early films, The Moose Hunt, he actually says, "Kiss me" to Mickey. So, and I know I've seen that, but I don't remember that.
Huh.
And then years later, in Mickey's Kangaroo, you hear his inner thoughts. So I guess he's not really talking as like he's talking, like communicating.
The voice in Pluto's head.
The voice in Pluto's head.
Yeah.
And, then there's another time we hear him crooning. Well, sort of hear him crooning. Actually, there's a hidden record player that is playing a song from the Three Caballeros called "You Belong to My Heart." And so that's kind of a cute thing that he was seen doing as well.
Nice.
But veteran Pluto animator Nick Nichols explained, I'll quote here, "We've generally kept Pluto all dog. He doesn't speak except for a breathy yeah and a panting, raspy kind of a laugh. And Disney legend Pinto Colvig, who was the original voice of Goofy, performs most of Pluto's woofs, yaps, and yelps. But today's Disney legend Bill Farmer carries on the vocal tradition, barking for Pluto.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? So a tie-in of legends both times early on and current. So.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. Pluto, it is interesting, and it's always the question. I think it's been out there for years, but also was brought up in like movies is, why does Pluto not talk more than like what you're saying? And he's a dog. Is Goofy a dog? He looks like a dog.
Right.
He was a dog originally, but he talks. Why can he talk? There's always that question out there.
Right. I mean, I think in looking into this, they had Pluto. I mean, they had Goofy, and he did talk, and they decided they really did want a pure dog, to play a different role, and so it's interesting that he actually can be a star of his own films with the fact that he never does really talk.
Yeah. I think the answer is, we were talking about Marvel earlier, that Goofy is a mutant. He at one time was an actual dog who would run around and bark, and then, he got hit by Terrigen gas or something, and he mutated into the walking, talking
there
dog.
You go.
There we go.
What a great theory.
Yes, I know.
Maybe Marvel picked that up.
Trademark that one.
So smart.
Yes.
So the other interesting thing, and it kind of parallels with a topic we talked about with the Donald Duck, because again, they originated around the same time, is that with the issue of World War II. And so actually the day after the Pearl Harbor attack on the U.S., the Army actually moved into the Disney studios in Burbank to house troops and to kind of protect Lockheed aircraft plant, which was very close by there. And so, we talked about also how Walt was very much loyal to this cause and wanted to make sure that, he was supporting those efforts. But in actuality, by the government hiring Walt to create films for the military, it actually ended up coming to about 90% of the company's production during those wartime years, because they were losing monies from overseas, et cetera. So it actually really helped save the studios.
Right. Yeah, no, a lot of the propaganda films, shorts that they did at that time, selling war bonds and helping to support the effort, did help. One, to help the animators employed,
right.
And then it also, did, and it of course helped, the process of what we were going through and helped the country,
right.
In so many ways. So it was really a well-rounded effort and very helpful to all sorts of different causes.
That's true. Mm-hmm. And so, as I mentioned, Walt was very much loyal to, the United States and to this cause, and found another quote where he said, we passed a resolution when the war started that any work we would do for the war effort would be done at cost, that there would be no element of profit in the thing. I didn't want a profit. I had a feeling that every one of those kids out there had been raised on Mickey Mouse, and everybody's in that war when people are out there giving up their lives. I don't like profit in the war, you see.
Very nice.
Yeah, right? So, so as part of the war effort, Pluto suited up for service,
yes,
and, along with Mickey and the rest of the gang and Donald, in Private Pluto, we see Pluto guarding a pillbox that two pesky chipmunks,
who could those be?
that they're trying to use for acorn storage. Then in the Army mascot, Pluto actually outwits a mascot goat to become the new Army mascot.
he's a fine dog. He's a smart dog.
That's right. Top dog.
Yes.
In Canine Patrol, Pluto was a member of the Coast Guard.
Oh, very good.
Right? But according to Walt Disney, and here's another quote, I believe Pluto's proudest moment really came during World War II, when our fighting forces in every sector of the world began to shower in requests for Pluto to pose for their battle insignia.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, that's great.
So in actuality, the patriotic pup appeared in approximately 45 Disney-designed military insignia for those outfits that they actually chose Pluto to be their mascot.
That's really cool.
Right?
See, it's not just us that love Pluto. It's not just Disney fans, just, people around the globe and obviously just very inspiring for this effort that we're going through at that point.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's just kind of, to me, so mind-boggling how big something like a cartoon character, but the fact that he is lovable and that people are attracted to him and see, the personality that he brings, to where they actually sought out to choose him as their mascot in such a, horrific time of the, actually the world's history. And it goes to show that the smallest things can play a big role. Definitely.
And even the little lovable pup like
That's
Pluto
right.
can be a huge hero to so many people. Definitely. Yeah.
Right. So Pluto also is a big comic star as well, comic book star. He's in Worldwide Comics, the first Disney comic publication to feature original material just starring Pluto, was called Pluto Saves the Ship. And it was originally printed back in 1942.
Wow.
Yeah. Co-written by comic book maestro the Disney legend Carl Banks.
Very cool.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. When I was reading these things, I was like, oh my gosh, that's pretty
Some
cool.
amazing history there.
Right. Yeah. He was also rewarded with another of his own comic books in 52, including elaborate graphics of Pluto Joins the Circus, which was a 30-page epic drawn by Mickey and Pluto master Paul Murray.
So a graphic novel, essentially, not just a comic book.
Right.
Basically a graphic novel.
Exactly.
Cool.
So who would have thought? Pluto.
Wow.
Right?
He's a star. He's a superstar.
He is a star.
You're a superstar.
So, he's been captured in comics and translated in multiple different languages around the world. Truly total star quality.
He is. He's a star. Love Pluto so much.
So, and obviously we know he is a television star as well. Early on, he starred in Disneyland, the show, the Mickey Mouse Club in the 50s, and then moved on as time progressed to the Disney Channel, Disney Junior, and now Disney Plus.
Yeah, we were just watching him on the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse. They have a special, one special. It's one of the episodes that revolves, I think he's in a couple episodes, but one episode really revolves around him a lot.
Exactly.
It's really cool, yeah.
So, but he also was a star in video games. And I obviously Kingdom Hearts came to mind when I was hearing this.
Small role in Kingdom Hearts, but he's involved, yeah.
But there were some other ones that I found that were interesting. He played in, he actually was in a non-playable character in Mickey Mania, which I don't really recall that one.
I've never played that one, I don't believe, yeah.
The early 90s. But this one cracked me up. There's a Disney Golf for PS2. And if the player's golf ball goes out of bounds, then Pluto comes over to help you look for the ball.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was so cute.
It's kind of cool, yeah.
And
Sniff it out.
Right.
He was a bloodhound originally, as we've learned. So
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And then, as you mentioned, he doesn't have a huge role in Kingdom Hearts, but he is there. He's Mickey's pet in there. And he also...
King Mickey in that.
That's right. Good point. And he's also stays by Carrie's side in there.
Nice.
So kind of her protector. Kind of can't tell if he really likes her or just wants to protect her.
Pluto likes everybody.
That's true.
Except for maybe Chip and Dale. Everybody else, Pluto likes.
So, but
and that one dog who steals his bone,
right,
not very happy with him either. But
exactly. But there was one really significant contribution that Pluto's animation really left as a legacy, and that was early on in 1934. And it was this thing called the fly paper sequence. Why am I having
easy for you to say?
Yeah, fly paper sequence.
That's not an easy thing to say.
And it's in the film Playful
Especially
Pluto.
when you're going to say famous fly paper sequence.
Right,
You have
that's
to really,
right. That's true.
Really talk it slowly through.
I know, and I get. I don't know. You can probably tell. I get anxious. Like I got to get through all this stuff.
It's great stuff. Some really interesting information here for sure.
You're sweet. So, it actually is considered to be one of the most influential animations of all time.
Wow.
Right. So the unforgettable sequence actually involves Pluto unknowingly sitting on a sheet of flypaper. And it just leads to a series of hilarious, gags and things of how he's trying to figure out how to get detached from that and free himself of that. And it was... it's considered a dazzling sequence from the hand of William Norm Ferguson, the primary animator of the Witch in the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs movie. Cool. I think you might have heard of that.
Something about it.
Right?
Just a small rumor about it. I don't know much.
Little film.
Indie film. Yeah.
Right. So anyways, he really shows Pluto's flexibility and elasticity and showing the annoying battle that Pluto is having with this sheet of flypaper. And so it's said to have marked one of the first times an animated character appeared to actually be thinking.
Really? That's
Right.
interesting. I would have thought by that point that there had been some thinking characters.
Right,
Yeah.
right. No. So I guess mainly they were reacting to things, but in this, he actually is trying to contemplate how to solve this problem. And you can actually, it's shared with, that kind of emotion is shared with the audience. So the scene actually caught the eyes of Disney legends Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, and they wrote about it in their book, Disney Animation, The Illusion of Life. And they said that the sequence represents a milestone in personality animation.
Cool. Yeah.
Frank Thomas also went on to note, and this is a quote, "This was the key to making a believable character. Getting the character to think and puzzle out a situation. Pluto was ideal for this." So through it all, it showed his predicament, and the thoughts of what to try next to get out of that situation was what was really amazing, and a milestone, or
Well, I mean, one of the things I think we love about Pluto, and it's credit to the various different animators that have drawn him over the years, is the fact that his face is so expressive for a dog. That you do see the different situations, whether it's just enjoying a dog bone, or whether it's finding that seeing that lady love dog, or whether it's Chip and Dale throwing him off and getting him upset, or whatever it is. His face is very expressive. And that is again a credit to these various different animators that you have already shared with us.
Right. And so it is interesting how, Ferguson was able to, without words, let the audience really see that Pluto was actually thinking. So it wasn't solely just reactionary. It only lasts 65 seconds in that sequence, but they said it opened the way for animation of real characters with real problems.
Cool.
So
that's very interesting. Yeah.
Right. And it actually was one of the things that caught Walt's eye, so much so that he actually had it reshot in color in Beach Picnic. So, it was something that, true animators really saw the importance of what that little sequence did to move animation for characters.
Really cool.
Right. So Ferguson died in 1957. However, in 1999, he was named a Disney legend. So, but I'd like to end with a quote from Walt about Pluto. And he said, "Through all of these great moments, I think I can safely say Pluto hasn't changed a bit. He's still the same, unaffected, simple-minded mutt he's always been." So
and adorable.
Pluto
is adorable.
He is. So it's just really great to see such personality in a character. One that, when you watch it, as I mentioned early on, you can't help but smile and just love him. He played a role in helping drive animation significantly, and then also, as we talked about with the war efforts, he became a symbol of hope or love for, people in the military. And I just think that's pretty amazing.
I think it's amazing. A great job. Michelle always has the best research and does a fantastic job with these segments. I always find it interesting for characters like Pluto, when we talked about it when we did our Hyperion Adventures Disney Hall of Fame, when Wally made it in as the character, about characters that don't really have dialogue, more than what you were discussing, just a couple lines here and there, a little exactly. Yet you can get so much personality out of Pluto, out of Wally, because of what the animators have done with them, what they've done with these characters, and fall in love with these characters. I think it's a tougher job, but it's a more amazing job when they can create this kind of love for these characters, despite them not saying lines or not expressing themselves in a different way. It all has to come out from expression, emotion, the situation that they put them in, and you also have to kind of empathize with them, know what they're going through, have a dog of your own, or knowing a dog that's like Pluto and seeing what they've gone through, and then you can laugh at it because you've seen your dog to do something similar, which I think they've captured a lot with Pluto.
Oh, definitely. I had a dog in Florida, and when he really started to grow out from just being a little puppy, you could definitely see that. And all I could see in him, he didn't look at all like Pluto. He wasn't
He wasn't yellow?
No, he wasn't yellow. But he had the walk, the swagger of Pluto and the funny characteristics of him that I would watch him walk around and think, I could hear the music of Pluto in the back of my head and thinking, oh yeah, that's Pluto.
Very cool. Yeah.
So, but like you said, the animators really did capture the personality that you could see in other dogs or other animals, and just a beloved character.
Yep. And then when you meet him in the parks, it's just like you see him in the cartoons.
Right.
He's just that lovable when you get to meet and greet with him in the parks as well.
And he's got one of the best signatures.
Yes, definitely. Definitely get that signature if you ever get a chance to with Pluto. It's a great one.
It is. Sure. It is.
Michelle's research, always the best research. Great job, Michelle.
Oh, thank you.
I really love it. And we'd love to know what you thought of Pluto. Is there a short that you really enjoy with him? Do you relate to him? Does he remind you of a dog you've had in the past? Do you have a great meet and greet with Pluto that you remember with your families? We'd love to know about it. Send it to us and we'll share it on an upcoming show.
Yeah, definitely. We look forward to hearing from you all, and thank you for letting me do this episode.
Yeah, so another great Michelle deep dive, this time all about Pluto, the original Disney dog. So thanks again, sweetheart. Great job. As always, Michelle's research is fantastic. I'm so glad she handles that because I'm not a big research person. She does such a great job with it. She does it so well. So that takes that off of my plate. But, then when she's diving into it, it's going to be some good stuff. So,
well, thank you. Yeah, try to make sure editing out unnecessary.
Yeah.
You've taught me that.
Nah, you do a great job with all your research. So let's get to our Disney stories of the week. I do have a couple for you this week. And then the first couple have to do with things that may soon, or actually will soon, be returning. We'll start with a guest favorite piece of entertainment that will soon be returning to the Walt Disney World Resort. This from the Disney Parks blog. They said, "We are thrilled to be starting the process of bringing back to work more singers, dancers, technicians, and other cast members from one of the most popular shows at the Walt Disney World Resort. Expected this summer, the Harambe Theater at Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park will host that fan favorite troupe of musical storytellers along with Simba and his friends in a celebration of the incomparable Festival of the Lion King." I know so many people were disappointed when that kind of went away because of everything that's going on right now. I'm so glad, and I know you are so glad, and I know many of you out there are so glad to hear it's going to be back fairly soon.
Right. No, that is exciting news, and it's something that, is a treasured production that you go in and it's just so impressive.
Yes, it's a magnificent show. I mean, we've admitted we're not of all the parks at Walt Disney World Resort, the Animal Kingdom park is not top of our list. Okay. We enjoy it just fine. There's a lot of great stuff that we love there. And one of those great things that we love there is the Festival of the Lion King. We hit it every time we go because it is an amazing show. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't been yet. You'll really enjoy it. So when it returns, this is going on with the story here. When it returns, Festival of the Lion King will be presented in a modified format to be mindful of the current environment. There will be adjustments to the show on stage and backstage, including updates to choreography to allow for appropriate physical distancing. They say they'll also adjust how the audience is seated in line with other theater-based experiences at the Walt Disney World Resort. So, of course, they have to think these things through as part of the reason why they stopped it for a while is because they had to reevaluate, the seating there. It's a very much a sing-along type of show, and, that's a little frowned upon right now and behind your mask. And so they had to figure some things out. I'm glad to see that they have done that, and that soon they'll, I'm sure they're rehearsing it now, the new portions, what they've had to change, and it'll be back out there before you know it.
Sure. And there's something on Disney Plus that, behind the scenes that we've seen on that one. I don't know if it was one day at Disney.
Yes, that's right. They were with one of the monkey, or was it somebody was with the monkey acrobats, or somebody that was one of the monkey acrobats?
Right, or it might have been Imagineering story. I don't know. It was something.
Right, but they looked at it, into kind of some of the things that go on back there. It's really cool. Yeah, I have to find out what that is and post a link for it when we figure it out. Remember what that was, but it is cool. So just check out everything on Disney Plus, and you will find it eventually.
Right?
It may take you a while, but eventually you'll find it. So they go on to say, who's ready to clap along with I Just Can't Wait to Be King, thrilled to the fire knife performance during Be Prepared, swoon over Can You Feel the Love Tonight, and take in the joyous circle of life. It's going to be an amazing celebration. Now, no date was officially announced as to when it was returning. They just said this summer, so that could be anytime, but I think it won't be too long, and it'll be interesting to see as things adapt to in our world, as more vaccines are out there and everything else, if they can open it up more. But we're just glad to hear the cast members, of course, are returning to their jobs. That's awesome. Also a show that we, the guests, love is coming back as well.
Good point.
Yeah. So there was a second announcement of something that is soon returning. This one to Disney Plus as well. This came out this week. It was at least equally as exciting to us. This again from the Disney Parks blog. They said the Muppet Studio has some exciting news to share, and something for which Muppet fans have long been requesting. For the very first time, all 5 seasons of the original The Muppet Show, which first debuted on television nearly 45 years ago, will be available for streaming on Disney Plus starting on February 19th.
I didn't realize it was that long ago, but it was a phenomenal show.
Oh, it's such a good show.
So many stars appearing on it, and just a lot of creativity.
It was kind of when it came out, it was kind of the variety show era when there was a lot of things like Donnie and Marie, Sonny and Cher was not that long before that. All sorts of funny shows like that, and so it kind of was a offshoot of that, a little vaudeville, a little variety show, only it was full Muppets. It was genius, brilliant, so good. I can't wait to see some of these great stars from that day, within it that were, that would appear. They'd have a guest star every single week. It's just total joy, and I'm really looking forward to reliving it all again, because I haven't seen these in so very long.
Right. And I don't know that I watched a lot of them when they were out, but I do remember that you really got to know the personality of the characters, because it did give an opportunity for more character development than what you see on something. It's kind of like the newer Muppet movies. You get to know their characters' personality a little bit more, some of their backstory, and so this was also very successful in that.
It's especially cool because apparently seasons 4 and 5 were never previously available on home entertainment anywhere. So I think you could have gotten probably a VHS or something, or maybe eventually a DVD or a Blu-ray of the first 3 seasons, but you never got to see 4 and 5. Wow. So it's great that they're going to be out there for you coming up here in just a few weeks. So they went on to say, soon you'll be able to relive the early antics of Kermit, Miss Piggy, Fozzie, Gonzo, and the gang, or watch them for the very first time. There's a lot of you 45 years ago. There's a lot of you that have never seen the Muppet Show, so you'll kind of get to enjoy. A lot of kids who get to check this out for the first time. In their hilarious variety show, which features sketch comedy, original songs, and guest performances from timeless and legendary stars such as Steve Martin, Elton John, Liza Minnelli, Alice Cooper, Julie Andrews, who we talked about a little bit earlier, Bernadette Peters, Diana Ross, Gladys Knight, Gene Kelly, and Luke himself, Mark Hamill, and of course many, many more. So I'm just so excited that we can just pop that on beginning on February 19th and just kind of relive all those great moments. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure they're going to look really hokey now, but it still will be fun. I think the Mark Hamill one is the one that has probably had the most press and seen at least clips of that, and I think that's the one that's most memorable to me.
So really cool. That was one of the best pieces of news we had all week. We just talked about a couple huge joyous pieces of news, and that was just one that just tickled me to death when they found it out. And I mentioned it last week that they had teased that there something was coming. I had no idea that this was what it was going to be. So that's just really cool stuff. So finally, we have one more story for you. That Disneyland, of course, was a big deal. That story from Disneyland last week was a huge deal. It still is being discussed on social media out there. Especially interesting to us was during that story that actually came out about there was the mention that the happiest place on earth would eventually be adding something called membership offerings, quote unquote, in its place of the annual passes that are sunsetting, another quote unquote. Well, if you were a Disneyland annual pass holder, your chance to lend your voice as to what those offerings might look like is sounds like it's coming to
Wow.
you. So this from the OrangeCountyRegister.com. They said that Disneyland Resort President Ken Potrak, I wish I knew how to pronounce his name. I need to look it up and see how to pronounce his name. But anyway, said during an interview with reporters that the Anaheim theme park will be seeking feedback from pass holders on factors such as price, frequency, spontaneity, and the time of day, week, and year they'd like to use the new replacement program. So Potrak spoke in broad terms about the membership offering, which we were just discussing a second ago, that will replace Disneyland's AP program, and provided some clues about what that could look like. Disneyland's new membership program, which is already in development, will deliver choice, flexibility, and value, according to Potrak. The goal to spread out attendance at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure while satisfying the largest number of people. This is a quote from Potrak. I'm going to get his name. I'm going to find out how to pronounce it. I should have looked it up before we got into this episode, but I skipped my mind. So I apologize to him, Mr. President, Mr. Disneyland President. He said, we're going to use this time as an opportunity to develop new offerings and a new way to think about the business given the situation we find ourselves in. He went on to say, quote, we're trying to understand what do people want in this new world. When do they want to access the parks? How frequently do they want to access our parks? With what level of spontaneity? With what level of value? All those kinds of things and many more. So it sounds like for those of you who are Disneyland annual pass holders like us, that sometime soon we will be receiving some sort of survey, some sort of email, something along the lines to respond to, and then you can kind of chime in so they can kind of help shape. I'm sure they have a general skeleton idea in place right now, but maybe it might help them shape it a little bit more. That whenever Disney sends out surveys, you should respond to them because there's important information within them. Right,
and they are excellent at capturing information through surveys, and again, it shows a sign of a strong company where you're comfortable with asking your customers what they want. I mean, it's a kind of a basic business theme, but a lot of companies don't necessarily do that. They feel like they know what the customer wants and they're going to make it. And here Disney is really great at achieving that feedback so that they can incorporate it into the planning.
Yeah. So really cool. Looking forward to seeing what this survey has. If we receive it, I'm assuming we will since we were a Disneyland annual pass holder, but interesting to see what comes of that.
Yeah. So it's great that they are, realistic and coming up with plans that, are going to be obviously not exactly what was there. I mean, our world isn't what it was back then. And then, looking to make the best of it. So I think they've done great. They also have the history of trying different types of programs, like out here in Southern California with the Flex Pass, which had the parks reservation system already in place back then, and kind of using some of that history and that knowledge of how that worked to see what might be appealing to people now.
By the way, during this week, especially when they announced that the Disneyland annual pass is going away, this is it's a different world. For those of you who only know the Walt Disney World Resort, believe me, Disneyland is a completely different animal than the Walt Disney World Resort as far as who visits on a day-by-day basis, okay? So this was something that had to kind of be done because of the situation it's in. Now, there were some stories that came out because there were some different websites that decided, hey, we're going to jump on this and jump on people's paranoia out there, of like, oh, Walt Disney World's not selling any new annual passes right now. Okay. And so people, of course, already were concerned that maybe their Walt Disney World passes were going away, started clicking on this stuff, and which is exactly what they wanted. Okay. They have not been selling annual passes for a while now because of the fact that, they just still have to control their capacity. It doesn't mean that the annual pass is going away. We were able to renew our Walt Disney World annual pass. If you have an annual pass, you can renew it right now at the Walt Disney World Resort. They wouldn't allow you to do that, I believe, if they were planning on getting it rid of at any time in the immediate future. So again, there's a lot of people out there who try and put stories out. They just want your clicks. Don't feed into it, and it's just because, it's just annoying because you don't get any new information, but it does stir up your paranoia more than anything else.
That's true. And, it's just better to, wait and see, look at what is out there already in terms of information, and just realize that they are going to try to make something that will help people enjoy the parks, again, in a different format, but something that is still going to be enjoyable.
Right. And by the way, we were tied into, for a short time early on in this podcast life, into a website that did exactly what I'm discussing. And so we know what's going on with some of these websites. I'm not going to say it by name, but was one of the biggest mistakes we ever made, tying ourselves to that website for a little bit. We were happy to get out of it. And as a matter of fact, our Mary Poppins Returns review was on that website, and I'm bummed that's where it ended up because of that. But anyway,
it was a great review. But
anyway, just you'll read your Disney stuff, but just kind of look at the source of it and think about things before you, because there's a lot of people that they get paid for you to click on their website.
Right.
That's it.
Yes. Exactly.
So anyway, sorry about that. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but I just thought it needed to be mentioned out there. So that's it for the Disney stories of the week. However, we never leave you without some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation. And we always start with Michelle. One, because she's gorgeous, super hardworking. She does amazing research, but she also has the very best tips. So let's get to it. Here's Michelle's tip of the week.
You're so sweet, honey. So, I thought, well, if we're doing a story about Pluto, should do a tip related to pets. So in some of this, we've kind of delved in the past, but just wanted to give updates because, things have changed over time. But if you are traveling with pets, Walt Disney World still gives you some conveniences for that. Some of the resorts are dog friendly. You can have up to 2, and those include right now Fort Wilderness Cabins and Art of Animation studio rooms.
Nice.
Yeah. So if you have a pet other than a dog that you're hoping to bring to the most magical place on earth, you can check out the Best Friends Pet Care. And they actually house not only dogs, but other pets, such as, cats also, but pocket pets.
Pocket pets.
Like lizards, birds, and rodents.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you go. There are options available for you.
What about my goldfish? Will I take my goldfish?
I'm sure. Good luck getting that on the plane.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I had to carry him in a little 3-ounce bottle.
That's right.
That's all they allow liquid on the plane. I'm sorry.
So, but anyways, there are options if you are traveling with your pet, and you can always go to their website and get more information as well.
Very cool.
Or if you have questions for us, if we don't know the answer, we'll try to help guide you through that.
Perfect. Michelle's tip. Always the best tip. Great job, Michelle. Again, another great job. My tip this week, and this comes actually with something that was brought up by the Disney Parks blog. And, today happens to be, and I didn't know this, I found this out from the Disney Parks blog, it happens to be National Compliment Day.
Ooh.
And one thing that Disney's doing right now is they're showing some videos of some cast members receiving their cast compliments, #cast compliments that they've received from so many guests out there. So I just want to remind people that this is the perfect day, National Compliment Day, that when you go to the parks and somebody treats you nicely or goes over and above everything, be sure and give them out a #cast compliment out on social media. Because believe me, Disney obviously is paying attention to this. They do in some ways reward some of their cast members, and shows them, hey, you did a great job. You're being noticed by people. And we all know the cast members are they bring the magic to all of our Disney stays, all our Disney visits. And so it's definitely worth shouting them out, rewarding them. And I'm so glad that Disney does also agree with this, look for them, and is happy to let them know, look, you're doing a great job. That the guests say so themselves.
Right, exactly. I mean, who doesn't like to get recognition for, their hard work? And the cast members really do a lot of hard work, and they have to deal with, a lot of things. I know that a lot of times they're in the midst of people having wonderful, joyous times. But sometimes that's not always the case. And they still have to, maintain their composure and try to help convert that into a more magical moment. And it's great that you have that opportunity to, publicly announce the cast compliments. And that, like you said, Disney does definitely also share that recognition. And they generally also reply when you do a cast compliment, that they, give some kind of feedback to reassure you that somebody at the company is looking at those to take some action on it.
Yeah. So how you do it, just a reminder, I know many of you already know this, but just in case you don't, when you go, if there's someone that treats you well, get their name. It should be on their badge, but you can get their name, where they were located. What was it? Was it, a front desk of a certain resort? Was it an attraction? Was it a restaurant? Whatever. Tell them where it's from. Tag Disney in it, Walt Disney World in it, or Disneyland when Disneyland reopens, Disney Cruise Line, whatever, and then hashtag cast compliment, and all those things. They'll find it, and they will recognize these different cast members for the great job they did.
Right. It's a really simple thing to do, and yet it really goes a long ways.
Yeah. If you can get a picture, don't, ask the obviously cast member if they're willing to have a picture taken of them, but if you can get a picture of them too, that's even
more helpful.
That much better. Yeah. So, but be sure and ask them before you do. Don't just put out a picture out there on social media without asking them first. So that's it for this week. Next week, well, we're getting close to that big game, that big football game.
It's a super kind of a game.
It's a super kind of game. Maybe you'll have a bowl of chips with it. Of course, we're talking about the Super Bowl. They're not going. Hopefully, the NFL is going to hunt us down for this, but I don't think they could because we don't make any money off of this show. Anyway, yes, that's coming up. So we thought, there were a lot of things within Disney that have to do with sports. There's a lot of shorts, the goofy shorts that are the how-tos that have to do with sports.
There's films.
There's a lot of great kind of based on a true story, live action Disney films based on sports. So we're going to look at all of that. And I think Michelle might do some research on this, but I'm sure I can share in this too, because I enjoy a lot of these films.
I'm sure some way we can make it a 5 fave too.
Something like that. We'll figure it out. But we'd love your input on it. We'll put it out on the newsletter. We'll put it out on social media as to exactly what the topic will be and what we'll be looking for on it. But if you have any idea on what you enjoy sports-wise from Disney movies, animated shorts, whatever the case may be, we'd love to hear from you about it.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yes. So as for today, we appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
we'd love you to sign up for our newsletter.
Yes, please sign up for the newsletter. It's just kind of another way to be more in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. And that's mostly what it's about, is just kind of just keeping you more in touch with what we have going on. Another way to be in touch with what we have going on is to follow us on social media. We are very active on social media, and we enjoy being active with you on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. Hopefully you're checking out some of these episodes on our YouTube channel. If you want to find us there, just do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe, and you'll know whenever we have a new video. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. If you have any questions about any of our episodes or any feedback or anything, questions of us, please don't hesitate to send us a little email.
Yeah. Even if you just want to say hi, we're happy to hear from you every single time. Whenever we get an email, it brightens up our day.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. And thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.
Bye.